Work is changing faster than you can update your LinkedIn profile. Terms such as sharing economy and automation crop up regularly in everyday conversation. What will work look like 5, 10, even 15 years down the road? Douglas Rushkoff is the author of Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus, How Growth Became the Enemy of Prosperity, and he joins us now for 10 questions on the future of work. Douglas, you ready to go?
Sure.
Here we go. Question 1. Has the sharing economy fundamentally changed the future of work?
It may. The sharing economy has changed the freelance economy. I mean, right now, really the sharing economy is not people sharing stuff with each other. It's people sharing stuff through some big platform that's taking most of the money, whether it's eBay or Uber or Airbnb. It is changing the nature of freelance employment.
In a big way.
In a big way.
Question 2. Schools are introducing coding into their curriculums. If you are looking for job security, is coding the answer?
If you're looking for job security in the next 3 to 5 years, coding may be the answer. Long term, no. Long term, coding is much more about understanding the landscape on which everything is happening. It's more like literacy. But, just because you teach kids to read and write, does that mean they're going to have jobs as authors and journalists? Probably not.
Question 3. Is automation scary?
Automation is scary to anybody who looks at their own value in terms of utility. If human beings are only valuable insofar as we can provide some measure of work, we're in trouble, because computers can do pretty much everything better than us. If we can start to value human beings as somehow, dare I get spiritual, sacred in our own right, as valuable as something other than work, then we shouldn't be scared at all.
Question 4. Is removing the human element always a bad thing?
Removing the human element is not always a bad thing, but removing it from what? So you could say, okay, wouldn't it be good to have robots dealing with really smelly, toxic garbage dumps rather than people? Right, removing the human element out of that is a good thing, but you're removing a human from that equation with human benefit in mind, rather than removing humans in order to save money or removing humans in order to do something more dastardly.
Question 5. In future, can you imagine where machines will do it all and there will be no more jobs for people?
Well, jobs themselves are really just an artifact of the industrial age. We didn't used to have jobs. People worked, they made stuff, they traded stuff. It was only when small business was really made illegal in the late Middle Ages, when we had these things called chartered monopolies, where the king said, you're not allowed to be a shoemaker anymore, you have to work for His Majesty's Royal Shoe Company. That's when we got jobs. So instead of creating and selling our value, what we did was sold our time. I can easily imagine a jobless world. We started looking at that really in the 1940s and early 50s. Scientists and computer engineers started thinking, well, what will happen if robots can till the fields and the farmer doesn't have to do anything at all? Can we handle that really economically? Yes, we can handle it, as long as we understand that if we have an abundance of stuff, an abundance of goods and services, then having a job is no longer a prerequisite to getting to partake in them.
You may have just anticipated question 6, which is, do we therefore need to redefine the concept of what a job is?
Yeah, I think we got to lose the concept of a job altogether. A job, employment, means being employed by someone else. And I understand we could work for a living, which is a fine thing, but we should be owners of the companies we work for. We're not working for someone else. We're working to create value. We're working for our company. So yeah, we are going to have to redefine what it means to have a job utterly. We can't even have a 5-day work week, a 40-hour work week. We don't need that in our society anymore. If anything, the thing that's scarce is the work. So that's what we have to ration, not the stuff.
Question 7. Do we need to separate the notion of employment from that of making a contribution?
Yeah, It's funny, a lot of theorists in sort of my position think that what we have to do is figure out ways to get more activity on the books. How are we going to figure out how much data did that person's Facebook profile contribute and give that person that much money and how much of this? And I think, no, we should go the other way. Get as much off the books as possible. I mean, the amount of value created when a mother potty trains her child is huge compared to anything that you or I do, right? In terms of the actual economic value of having workers who know to go to the bathroom. But you're not going to try to put a number on that. So no, I think what we can actually do is start taking the numbers off that.
Here's another number. Question 8. Should we still have a 40-hour work week? I think you've touched on that already.
We can't have a 40-hour work week. The point of the 40-hour work week was to make sure everyone was working the same amount of time. And what we really have to do is get back to what value am I creating, and how much do I need to work to create the necessary amount of value? We don't need to look at people like cogs in an industrial age machine anymore. We're actually at the place where we can get beyond that. And for the naysayers, every experiment that's been done in reducing the 5-day work week to a 4-day or a 3-day, or doing what's called guaranteed minimum income, where you just let people have stuff for this just because they're alive, they've all worked out splendidly. When people have guaranteed minimum income, they take greater risks, they become more entrepreneurial, they become more creative. All the data shows that the less people are required to work, the more they actually contribute.
Once again, you've anticipated the next question because it was about guaranteed annual income. We're going to start a pilot program here in the province of Ontario at some point in the next year to get one community on guaranteed annual income. How do you think it's going to work out?
Well, what you're going to find is that community is going to end up more educated. That community is going to end up working harder, creating more value, and actually coming up with 2 or 3 crazy good, innovative ideas, new technologies, crazy new video games, new theater, new dance. You're going to see more, ironically, more value created by those people than by the ones who are competing for a living.
Question 10. Is the future of work, in your view, as bleak as it's made out to be?
The future of work will only be bleak if we can't bring ourselves to let people enjoy the massive abundance and spoils of our highly technological society. If we just can't let people live in those houses, that we'd rather the bank tear down those houses than let people live in it. We'd rather just burn the food than let people eat it. If we can't flip that mindset, it'll be ugly. But if we can get ourselves to the place where we say, well, shoot, these people are alive, they're sweet, they're interesting, they should be allowed to eat, they should be allowed to have houses. If we can get ourselves to that and then compete on the next level, compete for the luxury, compete for the iPhones and the video games and the Tesla cars, you can still gamify your economy in order to get to compete for those toys, but the basics you just let people have because they're human beings.
Let's leave it on that optimistic note. That's 10 questions with Douglas Rushkoff, whose latest is called Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus. Douglas, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.